welcome back to the Bloom podcast. I don't know if this is going to be the first episode that I post on my YouTube. If it is, then hi. This is really fucking awkward for me because I'm not used to sitting in front of a camera and talking. I usually just have this mic, and then it's just me. So today I want to talk about holidays, vacations, because I've just come back from Thailand and it was an incredible experience, but I just wanted to chat about the feelings that you get whilst you're on holiday or on a trip or traveling, and the feelings that you get when you come back, and why I think it's really important to hone in on those emotions and feelings that you get, because I think that they can be really useful tools to figure out like what is and what isn't working in your life. Um, I think the way that the world works right now, it's very lenient towards, work, you're living to work, rather than working to live. And I think when you go on holiday, it's obviously a lovely break, and it's kind of, part of how we should be living anyway. We should be having fun, we should be feeling present, we should be, with our friends, our family. But obviously when we come home, we're faced with all these stresses like work and having to work a 9 to 5 or 9 to 6 or even more hours than that for some people. And although there are more opportunities now to not do that and to be freelancing and working away from your workplace, or even like as a social media influencer, you have more freedom. But a lot of people can't do that, or maybe that's just not within their skill set to do that. That's not why they're on this planet. So I just wanted to talk about it because I feel like the majority of people experience this. I know I do, even though, I tend to be very, very self-aware of my feelings and like making sure that my life is the best it can be, for me personally. But I still have these feelings when I go on holiday, and yeah. Also, if I'm looking this way, I'm not ignoring you. I just have my notes, so that's why. So I'm just going to start off by talking about why is it that we feel so different when we're away and on holiday. And I think it comes down to being more present when you're on holiday. I think that due to not having the daily responsibilities that you usually have back home, so that could be like working, bills, money, I guess they kind of come hand in hand, or maybe like relationship issues, family issues. It could quite literally be anything in your life that's causing you stress. When you go on holiday, your mindset changes because you're in a different environment and you're not having to face those daily things anymore, because you're in a completely different place, maybe even a different country or a different continent. And the responsibility of those things can very, very easily be dismissed out of your mind as like, oh, we'll deal with that when I go home. We'll deal with that later. We'll deal with that after this holiday. I want to enjoy myself, which of course is really important. But I think that those things that you're dismissing are can be used as really useful tools, or maybe even red flags in your life, that those are the things, or that those are pointing to something that isn't quite right with the way that you're living back home. Now, I just want to say, I know that not everyone is in a privileged position to be able to change all these things, particularly jobs and income and stuff. I understand that. But I do think it's also important to be aware of that and maybe see if there are changes that you can make, no matter how small or how big, to help yourself feel like you do on holiday when you're back home. So when you're on holiday, you obviously have a new routine, right? You're not getting up every morning and going to work anymore. You're not in the same area that you're living, so you're getting your coffee from a different place maybe, or breakfast from a different place. You're eating out more, most likely. You're not sat at home, especially if you're single like I am. Like, you're not at home alone, and that loneliness kind of dissipates because you're surrounded by new people. Or maybe you're on holiday with someone, with friends, or like I did, I went to Thailand and I did a tour group, so I was constantly surrounded by people 24/7. There was like 20 of us, I think, and it was amazing. And I've done that twice now. I did a North Thailand trip and a South Thailand trip, also both with True Travels. I really recommend. This is not sponsored, by the way, but I love True Travels. I have done 2 tours of them now, so I've basically done most of Thailand with them, and it was amazing. I think it's a really, really good way to travel if you're too scared to do it on your own, especially as a young woman. And I don't look 24, I look way younger than I do. So, you know, I have been in situations where that can get a bit scary because some people think that I'm very like easy to prey on, I guess. Oh, that's such a gross word, but you know what I mean. You'll know what I'm trying to say, right? It's also just a feeling of safety, regardless if you'd be safe out there anyway on your own. It's just a feeling of safety that you have traveling with more people, and also knowing that your days are already planned out, all the activities are sorted, all the accommodation is sorted, all of the domestic travel is sorted. The only thing you have to do is buy the plane tickets, and that's literally it. And obviously the tour, but like, yeah. When I was out there, I noticed that I was way more present because I quite literally didn't have to organise anything apart from like when I was eating and where I was eating, and I guess what outfit I was wearing for the day, what bikini I was wearing. I really didn't have to worry about much, and that is the case with most people when they go on holiday, whether it's a group tour or not. I know that's quite different to a normal holiday, but anyway, I was away for 3 weeks, and coming back, the post-travel blues really hit me. I think it's also because of the jet lag made that so much worse. If you're going on holiday somewhere you don't have jet lag or anything, and maybe it's a shorter time, I feel like the post-holiday blues can be a bit less. But I feel like everyone still feels it, right? I don't really know many people that don't feel that way. And if you don't, then good for you. You clearly have your shit sorted. But majority of people will feel some kind of way when they come back, and that's usually a negative thing because they come back to their normal life. They're sad that it's over. You know, you've just been in an amazing place, amazing like new culture, new people, new experiences, and now you're coming back home to something that to you feels very mundane because you're used to it. You're used to the routine and you don't necessarily want to get back into that routine. And that is kind of where I want to hone in on, is the things that you come back to that don't make you feel good. Because when you're away, your brain physiology kind of changes, right? Because in neurology, when you have new experiences and you're in a new place, your brain is more likely to be looking out for more things. You become more observant because everything's new. It's like a survival instinct. You want to be more aware of your surroundings because they're not familiar to you, and therefore you notice more. Maybe you notice more beauty, maybe you notice more, you know, people around you, and you feel more sociable. You want to go talk to people and see what their lives are like and how they live. And you know, it doesn't really matter where you are in the world. Like if you're in a new place you've never been to before, you're more likely to be open to new experiences. Whereas back home, because everything's very familiar, you're kind of, I guess, a bit more closed off to that because you kind of know the deal. You know what people are like around you. You probably most likely speak the same language, have had very similar life experiences to you. So I guess it kind of doesn't really interest you as much. But when you are somewhere new, that is how it can feel more of a positive experience for you because your brain opens up this whole new world for you where you're like, wow, like look at all this stuff, look at all these new different things that maybe you don't feel that back home because you're not aware of it, you're not actively looking out for new experiences. And this kind of goes hand in hand with manifestation. It's like when you're manifesting something and you're stuck in the same routine that maybe you want to get out of, what isn't helpful is thinking negatively about your current experience, even if you don't like it. Even if you don't like, I don't know, for example, say you don't like your day job. If you are actively thinking every single time you go into work, oh, I hate this job, I don't like this job, don't like the building, don't like my commute, I hate the hours, you're switching your mind into a really negative mindset, and your brain always wants to prove itself right. So if your reality is that you just have a job, it's an objective thing, it's not a negative or a positive experience, it just is. Your perception of that is what makes it negative or positive. So if you're going into work with the mindset of I hate my job, and you're affirming that in your mind, that's what you're thinking going into work, that is how you're going to feel for the rest of the day. You're also more likely to look out for things that are negative. So you're going to be looking at things that maybe a job comes through, you're going to be looking at how long it's going to take, and you see 4 hours, oh my god, 4 hours, that's so long. Again, that's just your perception of it. Whereas even if you still hate your job, to manifest something new and to manifest the job that you do want, you need to connect the feelings that that new job will give you in the present. I hope that makes sense. So what I mean by that is that when you're going to the job that you don't like, instead of thinking, I hate this, look at this new request that's come in, it's going to take me this long, the work doesn't look great, oh my god, blah blah blah. Instead of thinking that, think of it as, oh my god, look at this new thing that's come into my email. This is exciting. What can I do to make this the best piece of work I've done? Or how can I use this to further my skills? And it just puts you into a different mindset. So bringing that back to holidays and things, when you're out in a new environment, you're more likely to be in a more positive mindset, right? Because you're going on holiday. You know, most people, find that a really exciting and positive thing, and therefore you're going to be looking for things that are positive. You're going to be noticing more happy things, like happy people or great food or great clothes to buy in the shop, or touristy things, or great attractions, or cool buildings. You'll be looking for all these great things to reaffirm in your mind that you're having a positive experience. Whereas when you come home and everything feels very mundane for you, you're again going to be going back into that negative mindset you were in before you went on holiday. And you're going to be like, oh, I'm back home. I've seen that building before. I've been to that shop before. I'm not looking forward to going back to work and all that. You're switching your mindset into a more negative mindset again. And I think that's where the holiday blues comes, because you're not being grateful for what you already have, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And I do understand that sometimes that doesn't happen. I think for me it was a bit of both, because when I came back, obviously I was sad to be back because I love Thailand. I love the culture out there. I love the way of how friendly people are out there. Obviously, new experiences. I was in a really great mindset. I was very present because I wasn't worrying about when I'm paying my bills or my job or anything like that, because that doesn't really exist out there, because you're on holiday, you're not working or anything, right? So when I came back, I was kind of thinking, oh, now I have to go back to my everyday life and responsibilities and blah, blah, blah. But I also did think, oh my god, how nice is it that I can sleep in my own bed? I have my things, because I was living out of a bag for 3 weeks, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it was very different to how I usually live. So it was very stressful and a bit like, you just feel a bit chaotic. So coming back, it felt really nice to have all my things around me, to be in my room, to be in my own like sanctuary again, and to also have some alone time, because I love the tour, I love the trips, but obviously when you're with a group of 20 people non-stop for 3 weeks, that can be quite overwhelming, especially for someone like me that's a bit of an introvert. It was nice coming back to my own room. But on the other hand, I also felt quite lonely because I'm now back in London by myself. And my main support system right now, I won't go too much into it because I don't want to like put my life out on the internet, but a couple of people that are very close to me are in different countries right now. So, and that's not a bad thing, but obviously coming back after a big trip, being around people all the time, I want to go and see my loved ones, but they're not here. So it did kind of feel a bit lonely. And that is where you can really utilize those feelings that come up when you come back to then infer what you need to improve on in your life. But I'll get back to that later. I do want to go back to how the perception of your reality then creates your reality, sort of thing, that I was talking about a few minutes ago. So I just want to do a thought experiment, because I was reading a book. I'm going to find out what it was called. It's on my Kindle. So it's called Don't Believe Everything You Think by Joseph Nguyen. I think I'm saying that right. It's spelled Nguyen, Nguyen, right? This book I've only been reading for like 2 days, but it's quite a short book. And it does this thought experiment in there that I want to do now, because I feel like it really helps get my point across. I want you to think about a dream or a goal you have that you haven't yet achieved. Or maybe you have, you could think of one you've already got, but it's better for you for the purpose of this, to think about something that you want to do but you haven't yet. So for me, I want to start freelancing design. Or maybe it's something smaller. So you could think, oh, I really want to go to dance classes or the gym. So focus on that goal, on that thought. Maybe even close your eyes, because that helps you look inwards and there's no like outer stimulation. Close your eyes, think about that thing, focus on it, and don't overthink it too much. Just think about it objectively, of like you doing Pilates, or you doing the dance class, or you in your new job or something. How does that make you feel? How do you feel when you're doing that thing? How do you think you're going to feel when you're doing it? I want you to sit with that for a few minutes. You can pause this if you want to. If you need to concentrate more, that's fine. Now I want you to think about the steps it's going to take you to achieve or get to that thing. So for example, if I want to start like Pilates classes or freelancing, I need to set up my own business. I need to organize my finances, etc., etc. Or Pilates class, I need to sign up. I need to get new gym wear. I need to go into a class full of people. Think about the things you need to do to achieve that goal. And now think about how that makes you feel. All those thoughts and the thought processes of you achieving that thing, how does that make you feel? And what this thought experiment identifies is that, or I guess kind of proves, is that your thoughts aren't negative or positive. They are just thoughts. Your goal is just a goal, it's a thought. It can make you feel great, obviously, because you're imagining yourself doing that thing. But once you start actually thinking about it and you start ruminating on all the worries and stresses of the things you have to do to get there, it then creates a more negative experience. And this goes hand in hand with being present in the now and worrying about things that aren't happening yet. When you're on holiday, you feel more present because you're more willing to be present in the moment, because you don't have all these stresses around you. And therefore, you can be more present because you're not thinking about all the steps you need to do in order to get to a goal, even if that goal is just paying your bills. In order to pay your bills, you need to sit down with your finances and work that through. And most of the time, that's a stressful thing for a lot of us because everything's very expensive nowadays. And if you're in a different country and you've probably organized all your stuff before you left, or maybe you haven't and you're just ignoring it, and that's fine. But when you're on holiday, you're more present because you're not thinking and ruminating on these stresses. Whereas when you come home, it really, really highlights the stresses in your life and what is causing you to not be present back home. Because if you were fully present back home and you went on holiday and you came back, you wouldn't feel any kind of way. You would just be like, okay, I'm home now. Because you're not thinking too much about your present thoughts. If you're back home and you're like, I'm sat in my bed right now, I'm gonna go to work tomorrow, cool, I should get my clothes ready for work. Whereas what a lot of people do is when they come home, they're like, oh my God, I have work tomorrow, I need to get everything ready, blah, blah, blah. They start going down a thought spiral rather than just like letting it pass by and just be in the present. That's not happening yet. Yeah, you need to get your stuff ready. Okay, and you don't know that your work day the next day is going to be horrible or not. Why are you assuming that it is? That's not happening in the now. Does that make sense? I love how I'm saying that as if you can reply. So now I want to talk about how you can actually apply this. And I don't know if that made a lot of sense, but I hope it did. I just want to talk about how you can now apply this and improve your well-being when you come back home, because it's all well and good me pointing out the fact that we don't always feel great when we come back home from holiday, because it's a form of escapism, right? You're getting away from your current life. You come back to it after having an incredible experience abroad or away on holiday with people. You come back and you're missing that, because the reason why you miss it is because you were more present, you felt more free, you felt more joy. Whereas when you come home to all of these stresses, it kind of hits you like a ton of bricks, because it's like putting pause on your life, right? And then you come back and then it kind of floods you with all the stuff you've missed whilst you were away. So I just want to talk about how you can use this experience and utilize it as a tool to then improve your well-being when you're back home. So when you come back home, the best thing to do is to write down all of the things that are stressing you out when you come home. Do not avoid the feelings. That's the worst thing you can do. I know that it kind of seems a bit backwards to be like, welcoming those negative feelings, but that is the best way that we process emotions. You should not process your emotions by ignoring them, coming back home and thinking about your job and stuff, and then just immediately not, thinking about it and just going back to your normal routine, even if you hate it. If you love your routine, then that's great. But if you don't, the worst thing you can do is just brush it under the rug and then just continue how you always have, because that means you're not changing anything, you're not improving anything. Write it down. Anything that stresses you out, even if it's the tiniest thing, like, I don't know, maybe you didn't clean your room before you went away and you come back home and the first thing that you see is your messy room, and that really doesn't make you feel good. Write it down. If it's your job and you're anxious about going to work the next day, write it down. Make a list of these things. And then also, just to make sure that you're not going to go on a really negative spiral about your life, write down all of the things you're grateful for as well, to put yourself back into a healthy mindset. But the best thing to do is kind of do it the negative first, then positive. And I only say that because when you come back home and you're thinking, oh my God, I'm back home, I have to go to work, and rah, rah, rah. If you first of all think, force yourself to think positively, you're less likely to then notice the things that are wrong. I don't want to say the word wrong, but you know what I mean. You're less likely to notice those things once that feeling of negativity has passed. Once you have these things written down, it's really important that you sit with these things, go through one by one, and really get to the root of why you feel that way. So if you hate your job or you're really anxious about going to work, why are you feeling anxious? Is it the work itself? Is it the people? Is there someone at work that causes you stress? Is it the routine? Is your daily routine just not fitting you properly? Maybe you need to get up earlier and have some time for yourself before you go to work. Maybe you need to change your job. It could be drastic, it could be something small. Maybe you need to clean your room more and make sure that you're in a nice environment, because I know that the state of my room is the state of my brain. It's kind of messy right now because I've kind of just got back and I'm like, not just got back, it's been a few days. I'm making excuses for myself. But it's slightly messy right now just because I'm a bit like still getting back to my normal routine. But when my room is tidy, I feel so much better. So if you've come back to a messy room, maybe one of your things to focus on is to make sure that your surrounding environment is clean, because clearly that affects you if that's something you've written down. Maybe if you come back to a messy room and it doesn't affect you, great, fine. And I know that this exercise might make you more anxious. I know that it did for me when I first did it. Like, I did it last year on my first like big trip to Thailand, and I noticed that when I was writing these things down, it was a lot of a longer list than I initially thought it was going to be. I thought it was just going to be, my routine or my room or something, or the fact I haven't been to the gym or something like that. But it was actually quite long, and I noticed that the things I was writing down kind of all came under the same umbrella of the lifestyle I have for myself and the way I look after myself isn't right. And I've improved that since then. And I know it might feel very daunting to be writing these things down and realizing that a lot of things happening in your life aren't making you happy. But the point is that you're noticing these things now because you've used the positive experience of being on holiday. You've come back with a very open mindset. You haven't yet switched to being back home yet. You're still like half in that country or like in that place and half at home. Like, you've literally just come into the doors. Your brain hasn't yet switched back to your original mindset. That is why it's really important to do this as soon as you get home, or maybe the day after you get home. You don't have to do it like immediately. I'm not saying you get in at 2 a.m. you have to write all these things down. That's too much. You're doing too much. Maybe the next day if you've got a late flight. But that's why it's really important, because your brain is way more open to noticing things than you are just your day-to-day life. You can still do this exercise, like if you haven't been on holiday, by the way. I just think it's a really going on holiday and coming back and having the holiday blues is a really good way to pinpoint the things that make you uncomfortable in your life. And maybe you have a longer list than you thought, like I did last year. That's okay. You don't have to fix all these things now, but now you're aware of them. So now you can start correcting your routine, or you can start adding something to your routine that's going to help you deal with something on that list. Maybe you need to just change your job. Maybe if your job is really not making you happy, have a look at other options. You don't need to start applying right away. You don't need to make all these changes instantly as soon as you notice them, but now you're aware of them. You will then start to notice them throughout the day of like when you've changed one of those things. For example, maybe you've added a dance class, or again a Pilates class. Clearly I need to do Pilates because I keep fucking mentioning it in this video. I already do dance, that's why I'm mentioning it. Maybe one of your stresses was that you feel like you're not doing enough to move your body, and your body kind of feels achy and gross, and you come back home and you're like, oh, I don't really want to be dealing with that again, like I want to feel healthy. When you add on a new thing in your routine to help that, you will then start to notice, oh, this has actually really helped me. Whereas if you hadn't done this exercise, if you hadn't used the positive experience of a holiday and coming back home and then correcting it, you would just be doing the same thing you are now. And nothing would have changed. And you would be repeating the same cycle over and over until it gets to a point where you feel really unhappy with your life, and then you just feel a bit crap. And maybe that will affect your mental health, I don't know. By noticing these things, you've already taken such a big step in improving your day-to-day life. And maybe you're watching this and you just don't relate, and that's fine. That's literally fine. But I know that a lot of people feel the same way when they come back from a big trip. So I just wanted to utilize that because it's how I'm feeling at the moment. I feel very grateful now I'm back home, but I think the initial feelings that I had when I came back home was quite negative, because there are just a few things in my life that I noticed, hey, why have I come home and I'm now dreading these things? I didn't realise I felt that way until now, until I've come back from this trip. But now I'm aware of them, and now I'm very grateful because I have the opportunity to then change these things that if I didn't utilise this experience, I would have no idea that that's something I needed to change. And also maybe it's something you already knew you needed to change. You just needed the kick up the arse to write it down and actually sort it. Because sometimes, most of the time, we already know what needs to be changed. We just don't care enough about ourselves to do it. So care about yourself. So yeah, I apologise if this video was a bit confusing. I find it a bit hard to film myself doing podcasts. I find it a lot easier to just sit and record without having to worry about how everything's looking. But I hope this helps someone, and I do want to say you can apply this to any situation. It doesn't necessarily have to be after a holiday. Don't focus on that too much. If you want to sit down right now and do that thought experiment and write down the things that are stressing you out and the things that you're grateful for, and see the comparison of what you can improve or remove from those lists, then do it. If this has inspired you to do that, then do it. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll probably be uploading. I'll probably be uploading more of my podcasts to this channel. I'm also uploading, or already have uploaded. I really don't know what way around that's going to be, but I have filmed vlogs whilst I was in Thailand, and I will be uploading those as well, so you can see what I got up to. Although some of them are mostly me talking to the camera because I was really ill for a few days, so I kind of missed out on some stuff, but you will see what I got up to, basically. That's what I'm saying. This podcast is also on Spotify. It's called Bloom. Check it out if you haven't already. Add it to your podcast, I guess. I've already got a few episodes on my Spotify, so if this is something you're interested in, I've talked about a lot of other things like presence and manifestation. I'm quite a spiritual person, if you haven't guessed already. So a lot of my podcast kind of centers around that, but I also talk about things like this that I'm currently going through that I think are important conversations to have, because you wouldn't necessarily think that the experience of coming back home from holiday is something to utilize. You know, you kind of just think, oh, that's a negative experience, let's just get through it. Like, we'll just get through the holiday blues and then we're fine. But I think these are the kind of things that you can really use to help yourself. But yeah, have an amazing day, and I'll hopefully see you in the next episode. Bye.